What is up, guys? It's Mr. Parsons here coming back at you with another book talk. I've got a really special book for you today. This is the 2020 release by Case and Calendar, Felix Ever After. Now, one of the things that I try and do with my book talks is I try and bring in a range of different, diverse, and unique texts representing the melting pot that is the world that we live in. And this book is yet another example of that. This book is falls under the category of transgender literature because the main character in the story, Felix Love, who you can see on the cover here, is transgender. Felix began life as a female and has subsequently transitioned because her birth gender did not reflect her internal gender, who they were as a person. And so the story takes place a few years after that transition has taken place. So Felix is an art student at an art school in Brooklyn, New York, and is a very successful artist and a pretty terrible student. Felix wants to go to Brown, which is an Ivy League school, a really nice school, but is unlikely based on academics alone, but is quite a talented artist and has that kind of potential as an art student. At the beginning of the story, there's a transphobic attack against Felix. So, trigger warning, that is part of the story. That transphobic attack involves some old photos of Felix pre transition that get displayed, and along with the dead name, which is Felix's pre transition name, that gets shared around. So, a pretty traumatic experience to start the story for Felix. But Felix, instead of kind of shrinking within himself, becomes fired up and wants to get revenge. And so a lot of the story takes place around Felix making some pretty questionable choices and trying to get revenge on the person that they think is guilty for this transphobic attack. In the midst of that, Felix gets embroiled in a bit of a love triangle. So that is another interesting aspect to this text. And regardless of your gender or your identity, that is something that we all can relate to as human beings. That connection and that desire for a relationship. So terrific text. I want to read you a part of the story. This is Felix and their dad. Felix is kind of has a kind of up and down relationship with dad. Mom's out of the picture. They divorced a while back, and so they spend a lot of time together. But dad hasn't fully accepted the idea of Felix as a boy. So have a listen to this. My dad points at the roll of paper towels in my hands and says my name to get my attention, but not my real name. He says my old name, the one I was born with, the one he and my mom gave me. The name itself, I don't mind that much, I guess, but hearing it said out loud, directed at me, always sends a stabbing pain through my chest, this sinking feeling in my gut. I pretend I didn't hear him until my dad realizes his mistake. There is an awkward silence for a few seconds before he mumbles a quick apology. We never talk about it. How he doesn't like saying the name Felix out aloud, how he'll always slip up and use the wrong pronouns and not bother to correct himself, how some nights when he's had a little too much whiskey or beer, he'll tell me I'll always be his daughter, his little daughter. I put the paper towel down and take the 10 steps back into my bedroom, closing the door behind me with a soft click. Kid, I hear my dad call, but I ignore him as I lie down on my bed, staring up at the flickering light bulb. So, that relationship is an incredible part of this story. Um, One of the other things that I like about this text is it's really informed me a lot about what it means to be transgender. Felix identifies as a demi boy because 90% of the time Felix feels like a boy and wants to be seen by the world as a boy. But for 10% of the time, there's just this other category where that doesn't quite fit. And so demi boy is the transgender category that Felix fits into. A terrific book. There's a lot to learn in here and a lot to love. I recommend it 10 out of 10 stars. This is Felix Ever After.